Hello everyone, it's me again, Joseph, your host, and welcome back to our channel and the Catechism for Kids. What if I told you that for the first 1,000 years of Christianity, there was no Catholic Church or Orthodox Church as we know them today? It was just the Church. So what happened? How did this one family of faith split into two, a division that has lasted for nearly 1,000 years? This is the story of the Great Schism of 1054. A pivotal moment in history that still shapes our world today. Let's rewind the clock. Imagine the early Christian church spreading across the vast Roman Empire. In the West, centered in Rome, people spoke Latin. In the East, with its capital in Constantinople, Greek was the common tongue. For centuries, they were two lungs of the same body, united in faith, but developing distinct cultural flavors. Think of it like two siblings who grow up, move to different cities, and slowly start developing their own unique traditions and ways of speaking. It's natural, but over time, it can lead to misunderstandings. And misunderstandings definitely started to bubble up. The arguments weren't about just one thing. It was a slow burn of disagreements over centuries. One of the biggest was about leadership. In the West, the Bishop of Rome, the Pope, began to be seen as having universal authority over the entire church. He was the ultimate boss. But in the East, they saw things differently. They believed all the major bishops, or patriarchs, were equals. The Pope was first among equals, a position of honor, but not a supreme ruler. This fundamental disagreement about power created a lot of friction. Then there was a huge theological debate that sounds complicated but is super important. It's called the Filioque controversy. The original Nicene Creed, foundational statement of Christian belief, said that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father. Simple enough. But in the West, they added one little word in Latin, Filioque, which means, and the Son. So their version said, the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son. For the East, this was a massive problem. First, they believed it was theologically incorrect. Second, the West had changed the universal creed without consulting them, which they saw as a major overstep of authority. On top of these big issues, there were dozens of smaller cultural and liturgical clashes. Should priests be allowed to marry? The East said yes, the West said no. What kind of bread should be used for communion? The West used unleavened bread, like the matzah of Passover, while the East used leavened bread to symbolize the risen Christ. These might seem like minor details, but they added to a growing sense of us versus them. Communication broke down. Fewer leaders in the West spoke Greek, fewer in the East spoke Latin. They were literally not speaking the same language anymore, both linguistically and culturally. So we come to the year 1054. Tensions were at an all-time high. Pope Leo IX sent a delegation to Constantinople, led by the hot-headed Cardinal Humbert. Their goal was to resolve these differences, but it went horribly wrong. The talks collapsed into arguments. On a summer day in July, Cardinal Humbert marched into the Hagia Sophia, the most magnificent church in the Eastern world, and slammed a papal bull of excommunication on the altar. This document effectively kicked the Patriarch of Constantinople, Michael Cyrillarius, out of the church. In response, Cyrillarius held a council and excommunicated the Pope's delegates. And that was it. The schism was official. Communion was broken. At the time, many probably thought it was just another political spat that would blow over. But it didn't. This time the split stuck. What really cemented the division and poisoned the well for centuries was an event that happened about 150 years later, the Fourth Crusade. In 1204, Western Crusaders, on their way to the Holy Land, diverted their mission and brutally sacked the city of Constantinople. They desecrated Orthodox churches, stole relics, destroyed priceless art. For the Eastern Christians, this was an unforgivable betrayal. It turned a theological disagreement into a deep, painful wound of bitterness and distrust. After the sack of Constantinople, any real hope for a quick reconciliation was gone. For centuries, the two churches walked separate paths. The West became known as the Roman Catholic Church, and the East as the Eastern Orthodox Church. It's important to note that this isn't the same as the Great Western Schism in the 14th century, which was a crisis within the Catholic Church where multiple men claimed to be pope. The 1054 Schism was a break between the East and West. So where do things stand today? Is this ancient wound still open? Well, the story doesn't end in tragedy. 20th and 21st centuries have seen incredible strides towards healing. In a truly historic moment in 1965, Pope Paul VI and Patriarch Athenagoras I met and mutually lifted the excommunications of 1054. It was a symbolic gesture, but it opened the door for what's called the dialogue of love. This push for unity gained incredible momentum under Pope Francis. From the very beginning of his papacy, he made it a priority. He often referred to himself simply as the Bishop of Rome, a title that historically emphasizes his role as first among equals, respecting the Orthodox perspective. He repeatedly called the division a scandal and pushed for practical steps towards unity. One of the most visible signs of division is that Catholics and Orthodox often celebrate Easter on different dates because they use different calendars. Pope Francis was adamant about fixing this, once saying, "We have to meet and agree. We are ready to accept any proposal that is made together." The year 2025 became a landmark year for these efforts. First, by a happy coincidence of the calendars. All Christians around the world celebrated Easter on the same day, April 20th. It was a powerful glimpse of what unity could look like. Pope Francis used the occasion to renew his call for a permanent common date, but 2025 was significant for another reason. It marked the 1700th anniversary of the First Council of Nicaea, the very council that produced the creed that once united all Christians. To commemorate this, major dialogues took place between Vatican and Orthodox leaders. Pope Francis had expressed a deep desire to travel to Nicaea, modern-day Iznik, Turkey. To celebrate this anniversary alongside the ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew, this spirit of synodality, or walking together, has been a hallmark of his papacy, trying to reshape the Catholic Church's governance to be more collaborative, more like the Orthodox model, in hopes of overcoming the old obstacle of papal authority. Even though Pope Francis's papacy has ended, his successor, Pope Leo XIV, has continued this mission with vigor. In late 2025, he and Patriarch Bartholomew signed a joint declaration, reaffirming their commitment to achieving full communion. So, after 1,000 years of separation, what does the future hold? Full unity has not yet been restored. Deep theological and structural differences remain. The hostility of the past has been replaced by a spirit of brotherhood and a genuine desire for reconciliation. The Great Schism is not remembered with triumph by either side, but with sorrow for a family divided. It serves as a powerful lesson on the importance of humility, dialogue, and understanding. The journey is long, but for the first time in a millennium, the path toward healing the wound of 1054 is clear, and both sides are finally walking it together. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history and faith. Take care, everyone. Stay safe and healthy as usual. We'll see you in the next one, and God bless you always.